Okay, greetings fellow crafters, 'tis I your Hello Queen. Welcome back to my court, welcome if you're new. I have a kitting up that I need to do. Stick around and we'll get this taken care of. Okay, so I have finished Sunset Crossing. I am almost finished with the kittens. That will be a post review coming. But we're running out of May. And one of my favorite YouTubers, one that I watch a lot, is For Kids at 147. That is literally her YouTube name. That's her website, forkids147.com. It will be in the description because it's always in the description because I use her spare storage system. I've modified a bit for myself, which she encourages, but it is the one that I use, so I make sure that I credit her whenever I can. But she is doing a advent calendar style set of videos for June because people liked December so much and they wanted her to do another one. So I have decided that I'm going to join her because as a Canadian, July 1st is a holiday. It's our standard holiday, being Canada Day, where we celebrate the Confederation of our country. So, I bought, last year around the time of Canada Day and Independence Day for the US, which is July 4th, I kind of got in my mind, it's like, I see everywhere pictures of Americana. Everywhere. There's eagles and stars and stripes and everything. They're everywhere. You can find it anytime. But I was having trouble finding something that was Canadian. So I ended up going to what I'm pretty sure is a company run out of Australia. And they had this picture. I'm just going to see if I can get it in frame. Ah, there we go. It's hard to see in the little tiny thumbnail. I'll see if I can find a better picture and blow it up and put it on screen. But it's a picture of Niagara Falls, the horseshoe side of the falls, which is the Canadian side, all lit up at night. And I went, that's going to be an adventure in 310, but I love Niagara Falls. I live only about an hour and a half from Niagara Falls. We've been there many times with the kids. We kind of did a 10-year anniversary holiday there a couple of years ago. And it's very pretty. And one second. Sorry about that. My alarm going, hey, you need to take your pills, was going off. And it was annoying, so I had to fix that. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure this company's out of Australia. But they had this picture of the Horseshoe Falls. We've been there many times. It's only been an hour and a half down the road. Not that anyone should be traveling right now, particularly in Ontario where we are under strict lockdown still. But I wanted something in Canadian, so I ordered this from them. I've done the other two of the three that I ordered from them at the same time. And this is the last one. I said I'm going to use this as it's sort of an advent calendar for Canada Day. So I'm going to try and get this up before June 1st, so anyone who wants to join me can. And I'll explain some of the idiosyncrasies of how I'm going to do it versus how the other Rebecca at 4Kids at 147 is going to be doing it, and all that stuff. I dug this out of my vast pile of squares, because for some reason most of my large paintings are square. So I've got a lot of that going on. Let's move my phone out of the way. Got my vaccination on Thursday. My arm is a little sore, and I've been feeling a little yucky. Nothing huge, just kind of bleh. So I figured I'd give myself a project. Set that over there. This is all in these itty bitty bags. I thought this was going to be a 310 nightmare. I was only slightly wrong. It's actually going to be a 939 nightmare. So we'll see. There is no 310 in this at all. So I got myself a new trimmer, which I didn't have before. This is actually the first time I think using it. because my last trimmer, when I was replacing the blade, this bar here cracked and it wouldn't hold the blade in well, so it was kind of all over the place. I had to replace it. Which means I actually have a trimmer that has centimeter measurements on it. The last one was all imperial. I don't know why, but it was, which is very weird. I don't think it mattered to me when I bought it because what I was using it for was cutting up pictures. And generally, pictures fall into the 4x6 or 5x7 inches, so it didn't really cause me any issues. Now the symbols, and so if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I am slicing this up so I can put the stickers through my Xyron sticker maker. Because it is a godsend for trying to get the symbols. Now the symbols on these are pretty simple. I could handwrite them if I really wanted to, but I have a shiny Xyron sticker maker, which, let me just tell you that I won as part of Let's Finish It February from Crystal's Crafty Creations here on YouTube. She did that event back in February, I believe, and I won. So the prize was a $25 gift certificate to Anywhere, so I said, could it be to Amazon.ca, and I'll get myself a sticker maker, because I've seen enough YouTubers use them that I wanted one. I wanted one. This is not necessary because these are all alphanumeric, except for the bottom here is a plus and an equal sign. I could easily, if I wanted to, go ahead and handwrite these, but you know what? I have a sticker maker, so I'm gonna use it. So this is the sticker maker. It comes in purple here in North America. It comes in pink in at least the UK, because that's the color that Rebecca has. Yes, she's one of the ones. I love her kitting up videos. So if you like kitting up videos, that's another person to look at if you haven't found them already. If you found mine and not hers, I'd be shocked. But in case you have not found hers and do enjoy kitting up videos, she's a good one. She does a lot of them. So all I'm doing is just feeding this through the Xyron sticker maker and cutting it off. So that is now, I'm going to stick that well off camera. I don't need it anymore. So now I'm going to rub this down and then peel off this plasticky, come on. Basically, I think the way this works is that the sticker maker makes all of this plastic part sticky, and it attaches whatever you stick through it to the plastic part as you're pulling it through. So it makes, because whatever's, see right here where this part is, has no stick, but over here it does have stick, where my piece of paper was. So anything you feed through it, the stick will be placed on the bottom of it, and this back part here is just sort of a waxy paper that you'll find on the backing of stickers pretty much everywhere. Okay. Alrighty. So let's see. So now the trick to this part, in order to not end up with, I don't even know how many colors there are. It didn't have a color. I could count them, but nobody wants to sit here and watch me count. So I'm just cutting through just the paper and leaving everything still held together by this back bit of waxy paper, so that they're all individually cut and I can peel them off individually. but they're not floating around as individual things to get lost in my disaster of the craft room. It is getting better. I am cleaning it slowly, largely because I have to find homes for a lot of stuff. Most of the stuff that's floating around in my craft room doesn't have a home. Because if it had a home, I could put it away. I am finding organizational solutions for everything, but that takes some time. And I have a lot of crafts that I'm having to organize, so. Some that I don't do as much anymore. Some that I haven't been able to do much because I haven't been able to get in here. Like there's a lot of woodworking stuff around here. I don't do that much woodworking, but also part of the reason why I don't do that much woodworking is because I'm depressed and don't feel like it's a good idea for a depressed person who has had some suicidal ideation using power tools. The suicidal ideation is mostly gone now that I'm off the medication. I think the medication was causing that. And I was never like, oh, I'm going to go slit my wrist. It was, you know what? I could just walk out in front of that bus and die. And probably people will be better for it. And I don't need anyone telling me that that's irrational. I'm well aware that's irrational. I'm well aware that was irrational the minute after I thought it. Which is why I sought help. Which I am now getting finally, so. Plus, I just don't have the energy to do larger projects, and woodworking projects in general I find to be larger projects. Mind you, there are probably woodworking projects in here that would help me get things organized. That would be a thought. Okay, so, stray hair. That happens around here. I have long hair, both my girls have long hair. It's a whole hair mess. So this is going to be the storage I'm going to use. This is probably my favorite storage, and it has a million, bazillion random diamonds on me everywhere. Because I've used this a lot. Actually, this could be very scary. I'm going to pull out the foam and see what's under there. Oh God. Oh God. I'm just going to dump that out and sweep it up later. Okay. So yeah, I've had this a while, probably about a year, because I bought it when I was going to be doing my very first time in art club, and it required, I can't remember how many colors was in Diamond Art Club. It was over 30. It was somewhere in that range, and I was like, I don't have anything that'll fit that, so I bought this. I think the most I had was those 28 cases, and I'm like, that's not gonna be big enough. I was right. But this was the first of many, many storage pieces that I've gotten. So let's see what mess I have here. So lately I've been keeping my drills in Ziploc bags because I had a ton. We did have a Costco membership where we bought way too much of things that we don't use as much. So, but I have found that these stickers that you can get on, oh, you're going to prove me wrong, aren't you? They don't come off nicely on these. And I don't really want to take the time to deal with a Ziploc bag. So that's probably going to hit the garbage. I would like to, when I go back to buying this all the time, this is all the $9.99. Yes, it is. We'll just set that back there. Okay. I got my bin. I need my scissors. Don't take the scissors away. The trimmer I don't need anymore. But the scissors I definitely still need. So these need a good clean. I'll have to remember to do that when I'm done with these. 445, nice bright yellow. Okay. In future, I'm going to be peeling these stickers off and putting them on the lid before. Okay, this is going to be a problem. Thought that might be a problem. They're too wide. They don't fit on there very well. So the symbol is 8 and the number is 445. So for right now, I'm just going to pull out a bottle, pull out a color, and I'm just going to put it in here. Okay, so this is 208. So this is actually the first one on my list. And I'm going to have to cut the sticker. Because it's too wide in this format to fit. So we're going to stick number 1 and put the DMC number underneath, just so that I make sure that I have everything in the right orientation. So I know that the DMC number is underneath it, so I know that that's the right way up for the symbol, because that's a thing that can happen. Now, I think these are supposed to hold somewhere between 160 and 240 drills in each. These little bottles can hold 1,200 drills or so, as I have discovered from other projects I have worked on. So this is a lot here. I'm probably not going to get them all. Now, when I did the unboxing for this, which I will link in the card, I did do a full inventory. And I do that whenever I unbox a painting, because I have had several incidents over the last year that I've been diamond painting where they've sent me the wrong number of drills, where they've sent me the wrong drills, where they've missed a color, stuff like that. So whenever I get a painting, I always inventory it before I put it away. I get it, I open it, I inventory it, I mark it as complete, or I let them know that, hey, there's something missing, that's 210, that's something I'm working on. I think I can get one more in there. That was really pushing it. Okay, so 208. I'm just going to stick the extra ones in here for now. I may put the extra ones in bottles marked with the number, but we will get there. Okay, so what are you? This is a little hard because it's black on dark blue, but it's 791. Okay, so let's get a bottle out. 791. 791 is a pretty dark blue. So I am going to chop the sticker. It's going to be a J. All the way to 791. Okay, so let's cut this open. That's the problem with picking one color for your labeling of these drills, is the drills can literally be any colors, so not all colors are going to show up on all drills. I have seen companies who've used gold, and that works okay, except the gold tends to wear off. Like, literally as they brush up against each other in the bag, it comes off. So it's like, well, that's great right up until you can't actually see it, so. why a lot of companies will put them in those long strips with the silver on them, because then they can write in black, and black shows up great on silver. Since it's a consistent color, it always shows up. Okay, so 932. 932 will be you. Now these have numbers on them, and I'm not quite sure what they're supposed to represent. This one's got a little 3. So does that mean this is 300? I don't know. It looks a little bit bigger than the other ones. This is 613. Bottle out. 613. So once I'm done putting all of these into bottles, I will then go through and figure out an order that makes sense to me. I can't, for whatever reason, I have more difficulty working from the DMC numbers. I prefer to work from the symbols. So I will arrange them in an order that the symbols make sense to me, which they largely are in. I normally go letters, then numbers. But that's the one nice thing about this bottle system, is you can just rearrange them as you like. Whatever way is making sense to you today is the way you can do that. So 3, 4, 7. I know some people just prefer to number them 1 to 50 and go that way, and then just read off of the canvas. But this canvas isn't numbered, so I don't know how well that would work for somebody. Because if it was numbered, I could easily tell you how many colors are in it, but it's not. Actually, is the canvas numbered? The color sheet wasn't. Oh, the canvas is numbered. How many colors is this? 33. It's 33. So I'm going to have 27 extra bottles to play with. 3823. But I have like 78 bags of 939 to deal with, so we'll see how that goes. 3823 is kind of a cream color. At least it is from this manufacturer. Are you the same? Oh, no, you're 3865. We will get to you. 210. Niagara Falls is a very tourist-based attraction kind of town. We've gone there many times, sometimes not even to see the falls, to go to water parks and the like that are there for tourists. And it's not a far drive. It's not over any borders. So it's an easy one for us to get to. We technically could even probably do it as a day trip, but that would be kind of pushing it because it is like an hour and a half drive. We did go down more often when I worked for a hotel call center because then I could get really cheap rooms and we could make a little weekend out of it. My husband and I would take a random Friday or Monday off work. Leave once the kids were done school. And go down for the weekend. Worked out nicely. We enjoyed it. Or sometimes we would just not even take the day off of work. We would just go we would pack up the night before and have everything in the car. And then once we were all done, work, school, etc. And one thing I will say about home craftology, and I probably said this in the unboxing, is they were good about labeling things that might be difficult. A lot of companies that care less would not notice that 967 up here is cut off, so it's hard to read. So they relabeled with a very fine point Sharpie 967 on the bottle, which I appreciate. We go down there, we might do one or two things, get dinner, stay the night, and then get up the next morning to be able to explore. Spend all day Saturday there, spend a good chunk of Sunday. That was usually if we were going for a water park, we would then pack everything up, get in the car, get all of our stuff in the car except for the bag that we're taking to the water park. Go to the water park, and then once we were tired of the water park, we would then just go home. Excuse me, just gonna take a sip. So Saturday we would take exploring Niagara Falls and checking out other things that they have going on there. Sunday we would spend at the water park until we were sick of it. And then go home. And it was a good weekend. And I kind of miss being able to do stuff like that, both from a, having an income standpoint, which I don't right now, and a non-COVID standpoint. Although things are getting better, I think we're up to 50% of Ontarian adults having had their first dose, which I joined on Thursday, and my husband joined today. And our 13-year-old has an appointment to get her vax on the 10th of June. I would have put one in earlier, but they had not allowed anyone under 18 to. When I first signed up, I had originally signed up for the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is not approved in the US, but it is in Canada. And I had signed up because it was available through pharmacies, and there was a pharmacy that I could easily walk to that was going to have it. So I did everything that they told me I needed to do to sign up to get an appointment, and then crickets for weeks. And then they pulled the AstraZeneca vaccine because what they had thought was a very low risk of blood clots turned out to not be quite as low risk as they had assumed. So they stopped offering. So being a responsible medical establishment, when new information comes in, they reevaluate and take new action, which is what they did, which is exactly what they should have done. Okay, this is not as low risk as we thought it was. Let's stop administering this as a first dose to people until we reevaluate. And they still have not reevaluated as far as I'm concerned, but they, as far as I'm aware, 3608. So once I found out they'd pulled the AstraZeneca and I knew that the pharmacy that I had signed up for was doing the AstraZeneca, I then started looking around for some something else I could sign up for, and they had to sign up for us to go to a big old clinic that they booked out the arena that my daughter went for her skating lessons back when we were allowed to have skating lessons for the Pfizer vaccine. And I went, yeah, sold, done, let's do that. So I signed myself up. I would have signed my husband up for the same day, but I had heard about this partway through the day, and I was home and he was not. He was out working, and you needed to have your province issued health card information, which I did not have on me. He had his health card with him at work. As soon as he got home, he handed me his health card, and by that time there was no appointments for the Thursday or the Friday. There was only the Saturday available. So that's why I got vaxxed 2 days ago, he got vaxxed today. And then this past week they started taking appointments for anyone between 12 and 17. So now Emily's signed up. And they're still doing studies as to whether or not they can certify it for kids that are younger than that. So until then, Caitlin will remain unvaxxed, because she's only 9, so she's got at least 3 years before she's old enough to get this vaccine at the current recommendation, unless they change it, which they may, because that's what science does. They do tests, they check things out, and they make new recommendations based on new information. This is the way it's supposed to work. So a lot of people, now my mother and my sister both had the AstraZeneca vaccine, and the risk was low enough that even though my mother's a stroke survivor, her doctor said, yeah, go get it. So that's why I wasn't concerned about getting it. But apparently most of the risk is on the first dose, so my mother is still being confirmed on getting her second dose. Which is good. She's going to get her second dose and she'll be fully vaccinated. I think my sister too. $3.16 with the purpley pink. Alright, 840. That's 5, that should all go in one. 840. So enough vaccine talk. Nope. It's over here now. Hello. That's going to be Q. 840. So yeah, I've got like that red blotch there. It's warm and it hurts, but I usually don't even notice it unless I raise my arm above a certain point. And I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, but I feel a little bit under the weather a lot, so I'm not sure if that has anything at all to do with the vaccine. It may. I mean, my body's kind of learning to fight off a pathogen it's not accustomed to, so it may be vaccine related, it may not be. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't have it, my stomach's a little upset, but then I also don't have a gallbladder and I've been eating fattier foods, so that's not unusual. And my gallbladder removed a few years ago. 5 years ago. It's 2016. Yep, so that all fit in there. So they can definitely hold over 1,000. I think I've had baggies that purported to be 1200 that have fit into one of these bottles before. Because 1200 is the number that stands out to me. 3607. One of the rare 36 numbers. Most of the 36 numbers don't actually exist anymore. Yeah, so these numbers here, if you're new, these numbers are DMC numbers. DMC is an offshoot. DMC is a French embroidery floss company. They're pretty much one of the biggest names in the business. And so, cross-stitch charts, if you buy a cross-stitch chart, they will largely have, although they can have other floss numbers, they will have DMC color. Now, diamond painting started out as an offshoot from cross-stitch. And since they were literally taking charts and turning them into sticky diamond paintings, they just used the same color scheme to make the diamonds up and made the diamonds as close as they could to the colors that the DMC has. So that's why we have embroidery floss colors in a project that has no embroidery floss. And DMC's been around for a long time. They've been around since the 1700s. They've been producing embroidery floss since like 1890 something. So, yeah, they're one of the big names. There are others, but they are definitely the standard in cross stitching. Which is why when this craft splintered off from cross stitching, we brought the DMC colors with it. 647. Here. D. Yes, Emily is quite fine with the idea of having a vaccine. Caitlin is not. She shares the crippling fear of needles that I had when I was a kid. I used to hide when the needle lady came when I was staying in the hospital I was in the hospital for a couple of minor things as a kid. Relatively minor. I burst an eardrum. I had to have a bladder probe done because I was having back-to-back bladder infections and stuff. Like, nothing major. Other than when I was 2, I actually caught some sort of weird disease that I had to be in hospital and in isolation for. I don't even know what it was. It was before I can remember. But I remember, so it was one of the later trips, I remember hiding from the poor lady who comes around with all your meds and needles and everything that you need to be. She has a job title, I'm sure, but when I was a kid, she was the needle lady. If you happen to know what the job title is for that poor man or woman who has to go around and give people their shots, go ahead and post it, because I wouldn't mind learning it, but yeah. She was the needle lady, and I used to hide when I saw her coming. So, the nurses actually started paying me with change to not hide, because I was a tiny little thing, and I could fit in the weirdest, most unusual places, and it was always a pain in the butt for the nursing staff to come and find me. So, they paid me to not hide. I left the hospital richer than I came in. But I got over that needle fear after I met my husband and moved in with him, because seeing as I still had courses to finish in high school, I was just barely 18 and had not been the most studious of students, so I still had some courses I had to finish up. I decided 18, with a guy I hadn't been dating all that long, I really didn't want to be a mom. So I did what I thought was the appropriate thing and go on birth control. And that probably was the appropriate thing. However, I was also a migraine sufferer, and my doctor did not take that into account, or not well enough. 834. This is a color that I was shorted on a painting. Christmas painting, and I sent 824 instead of 834, and 824 is kind of a tealy color if I remember correctly, so I'm like, this is not gonna work. They got it to me. I think it was Home Fun. They got it to me. They fixed it. Okay, so this is 838. 838 here. What was I talking about? I was talking about migraines and birth control. Yeah, the birth control, not right away, but about a month into me taking birth control, my migraines went absolutely haywire, and I was throwing up all over the place, and I would literally have to be carried into the hospital to be put on an IV to rehydrate, because I would vomit myself into dehydration. I couldn't take anything in my mouth. The pain even from the migraine would go away, and I would still be vomiting. So yeah, I got over, because I had to have IVs constantly, and they were having to give me drugs either through the IV or giving me shots of drugs. I got over that fear of needles really darn fast. And it was really funny because I've been dealing with anxiety with other things that my mother brought up that I hated, that I had a fear of needles. It's like, oh Mom, I got over that years ago. That's not an issue. I won't watch when they're putting a needle into me, but I mean, this was nothing. This was a quick stick and done. But Caitlin still talks as if she was traumatized by a blood test that she had to have taken when we were trying to discover what was wrong with her with regards to her behavior. So they did a bunch of tests. And we took her for hearing tests, we took her for other stuff, and one of the tests was a blood test. I feel a little bit bad because I didn't warn her well enough, but I don't know how she thought that her blood was going to, she knew she was getting blood taken, but it didn't click with her that meant that they were going to stick a needle in her. And yeah, that didn't go over too well. Poor kid. Mommy should have better prepared her. And that was a few years ago now, and she still is not happy about that. So. Very little scares, Caitlin, so this is definitely new territory. Caitlin being scared of something. This was the child that I had to learn that I couldn't stand next to her when she was climbing on playground equipment, because if I stood next to her, she had ultimate faith in Mommy, so she would just throw herself around on it. Just throw herself around on it. Wouldn't pay attention to safety precautions. Mommy will catch me. So I deduced, and she was really little, like she wasn't even 2 yet, I don't think, that I had to stay a good 4 or 5 feet away at least. because if I stayed a little bit away where I couldn't immediately catch her, she would only climb things that she could handle, and she would test to make sure that her footing was good before she would move on to the next step and stuff like that. Like she loved to climb things, but if I was there, she would do stupid things and dive off of stuff because mommy will catch me. Mommy's omnipotent. And it scared the crap out of me, so I had to stay away. And then that would cause other parents to have complete heart attacks. I'm like, no, leave her. Leave her. She's fine. They'd be trying to take her off of the stuff because she's too young, she's too little. I'm like, no, she climbs it all the time, just leave her. I was never far away. I was never ignoring her. But if I was too close, she would just make stupid decisions. I don't know how else to explain it. If I wasn't immediately there, she would be more cautious. And she almost never fell. She would occasionally get stuck and not know how to get down. And then mommy would have to go climb up and get her. But she never fell. Like, she was a pro. And she still climbs on stuff. She's the heart attack inducing child. This is also the child. I was at work one day and I was closing up the bakery. And we'd been having trouble with Caitlin just deciding to do whatever she wanted and doing it the way, and just going ahead and doing it. One thing that she was doing was just wandering off and going to the park or going to grandma's by herself. And she was, I think, 4. Maybe 5. And she would just go ahead and do things and not think twice about it. And we were trying to, not necessarily scare her, but to make her understand that what she's doing is dangerous. She needs to have a grown-up with her. And so, with regards to her just willy-nilly crossing the street without having anyone there, I would take her and stand her next to cars in parking lots, like big trucks. Big pickup trucks and stuff like that. And it's like, so I'd stand her right up next to the bumper and point up at where the driver would be standing and say, can you see where the man would be if he was driving there? And she says, no. I was like, well, if you can't see him, then honey, he can't see you. And try to explain to her that nobody's going to try and run her down, but they need to be able to see her, and she's little, so she needs to have someone bigger than her. This is going somewhere, I promise. So I get this, I'm closing up the bakery, I get this phone call. And for whatever reason, that store that I was working at the time, everything went through the bakery. So I answered the phone fully expecting to have to page somebody else in a different department to pick it up. Their phone system was so screwed. And so I answered it with Superstore Bakery, and I said, hi, I'm looking for a woman named Rebecca. And I'm like, my name's Rebecca, what's going on? She's like, I'm here with a small person, a little one, who says she's 5. I think she was 5 at the time. And she said her mom's name is Rebecca and she works at the Superstore Bakery. I'm like, oh my God, where are you? And I don't drive. And I'm at work. I'm like, where are you? And I had seen messages popping up on my phone, although I had heard messages popping up on my phone. I hadn't actually opened my phone to look at it because I was busy trying to get everything done with the closing so that I could go home. hadn't really been paying attention. And so as she's saying this, I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for calling me. She said she didn't know her mommy's number, but she said that her mommy was at work and that she worked at the Superstore Bakery. It's like, yep, that's me. That has to be me. Where are you? And she described where she was, and she was about halfway between where I work and my house. So it wasn't just a simple, oh, she's across the road. She was just wandering down one of the busiest streets in town. She's on the sidewalk, but she would have had to have crossed 2 or 3 fairly busy streets to get there. So it wasn't an easy just turn around and get her home. So I'm like, oh my God, okay. Thank you so much for checking this out. I guess this woman had been driving down the street and going, she's not old enough to be out of here without an adult. Let me just pull over and see what the heck's going on. And so as I'm talking to this woman and talking with Caitlin, she puts Caitlin on the phone, talking with her. It says, why are you there? Well, it says, Daddy said he was coming to get you, but he was taking too long. I'm like, okay. What do you mean he was taking too long? And I'm looking at my messages while I'm talking to her, and he's messaged my mother in the group chat we have going on Facebook going, did Caitlin come over to see you? Because my mother lives around the corner, and that's usually where Caitlin will disappear to. She wasn't supposed to, but that would be usually where Caitlin would disappear to if she disappeared out of the house, which she would go over to Grandma's. And my mother was saying no, she hadn't heard her, so they were starting a search through the neighborhood. So I'm texting my husband saying, I have a lady on the phone who has her over at the corner of this street and that street. And I have a phone call now coming in, not from my husband, but from my daughter's but from Caitlin's best friend's mother, saying, I'm over on X Street and I can see Caitlin talking with a strange woman on the side of the road. Is everything okay? I said, no, she decided to take off to come get Mommy on her own. My husband's looking for her. I'm trying to communicate, get her back and forth. And she's like, well, do you want me to just turn around and go get her? I'm like, actually, that would work out perfectly, because in order for her to get back to her house with her kids, she'd have to pass by my house anyway. So here I am, I'm talking with this strange woman who has my child, who I don't know. And I don't know if I ever actually got her name. I don't remember it. If you're out there, I am so grateful that you stopped, because I don't know what Caitlin would have done, because she would have still had other streets to cross. And kudos to Caitlin. She was like 5, and she knew exactly how to get from my house to my work, which is a good 25-minute walk for me. Sorry about that. My husband's dire emergency was to tell me that James Marsters was in a movie called Dudes and Dragons on Amazon Prime. James Marsters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Am I pronouncing that right? There's 2 James with very similar last names who are in acting, and I may have the wrong one. But it's definitely the dude who played Spike, because he's awesome. He's been in a lot of things. But the fact that he was in a Dudes and Dragons was my husband going, hey, you have to come see this. It's like, honey, I'm kind of busy. And I've been sitting in the wrong spot trying to film this for a while, so my leg's asleep. Okay. So, yeah, non-emergency. So where was I? So I was talking about this lovely lady who is my daughter's best friend's mother contacts me at the same time. So here I am, I'm coordinating these 2 women meeting up. So the friend's mother gets Caitlin and Ludes are in the car, and I profusely apologize and thank the lovely woman who helped out my daughter. And she takes my daughter home to my husband, who then loads her in our car to come and pick me up because I'm just about done work. And then we have a conversation with Caitlin about why on earth she thought this was a good idea and how we talked about her not crossing streets because she's too little for the cars to see. It's like, so how did you cross the street? And so she literally says, well, I just wave my arms like this above my head, which I can't really show you, but literally above her head. She looked like one of those standy things they have at used cars. Okay, lots. And I'm sitting there going, oh, just to make sure they could see me. So she took from that, not you should make sure that you're always with the grown-up, but she took from that, oh, well, I need to make sure that the cars can see me if I'm going to cross the street without a grown-up. And I love her ingenuity, but oh my God. Oh, 3839 is this lovely blue, and it's going everywhere because 5 was a little overzealous. Okay. All right. We're getting there. Okay, I think this is more 939. I did say 78 bags. That's more 939. We will deal with the 939. Okay, 917. So, yeah. That's my Caitlin. Completely fearless. Except with needles. Needles she's afraid of. Needle she's afraid of. Love that child to death. Someday that child will move mountains. But in the meantime, she's going to be the cause of every single gray hair that I get. Every single gray hair. Just because that's the way the universe goes. Mind you, her sister's starting high school next year and she's 13 years old, so I'm sure the teenage years will cause some blanching of things. She's got a pretty good head on her shoulders, but then I did too at that age, and I still did some unsettlingly stupid things. Like the whole Dungeons and Dragons. My poor mother did not know what to do with me because I suddenly had it. I had a new boyfriend, which I hadn't dated until I was 16, nearly 17. And then my boyfriend got me into Dungeons and Dragons, which, while Dungeons and Dragons is actually tame as anything, you're sitting around a table and doing storytelling with friends. It doesn't even mesh well with things like alcohol or drugs because then the math gets really hard. I was still playing with guys who were anywhere from 3 to 10 years older than I am. And staying up till all hours of the night, not getting home till like 3 in the morning. And at first, my parents kind of didn't know what to do because they knew that I wasn't doing drugs or getting drunk or anything like that, and that I was safe. I was with my boyfriend. We were sitting in well-lit rooms surrounded by books and being nerds. But still, your teenage daughter is out all night. It's cause for consternation. And then on top of that, when they realized that these people were not my age, and most of them, well, some of them were my boyfriend's age, and he was 3 years older than me, most of them were quite a bit older even than him. And the one guy that my parents actually got to meet, he was 27, but almost completely bald. And what little he had was very, very gray. He could easily pass for 10 years older than he actually was. And he was already 10 years older than me. So my parents were a little concerned about this. And then when I continued doing this even into the school year, they felt they had to do something because I was skipping out on school because I was too tired from having played D&D the night before because I'd been out till all hours of the night. And most of these guys were in college or working night shifts elsewhere, so them having to get up in the morning was not as big a deal. But I had to go to actual high school, and it was a problem. And high school was boring when I could be playing D&D. So that became an issue. So then I started sneaking out to go to D&D games, and then sneaking back in. This craft room was my bedroom, and it's in the basement, so the bedroom window is literally ground floor level. So it was really easy to get in and out of if I didn't want to be seen. But that didn't stop me from skipping school. And then I dumped that boyfriend because he was getting too controlling when he went to college, and I was still being invited to D&D games even though he wasn't. And seeing as these were all guys who were much older than me, and it was all guys. All guys. We did have girls occasionally, but they were largely my friends in games later. But it was all guys back then. Largely bachelors. In their 20s. With me, this cute teenage girl. So I eventually just stopped coming home, and I moved in with my boyfriend. Mind you, by the time I moved in with my boyfriend, I had my new boyfriend, who is actually now my husband. Most of the younger group, the ones who were still in college, had been my ex's friends, so they no longer wanted to have anything to do with me because I was now ex. And this other group had jobs to go to, so they were far less likely to stay up all night on a weeknight. Weekends, absolutely, we could still stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning because we were old enough to know better, but not young, but still young enough to not care. Yeah. Now I need my stickers because I'm going to see about getting some of these into other pots. Do I have them? I thought I got everything together, but yeah. I'm going to have to go find my stickers. One moment. They weren't far. Alright. So, I have 333. So now I have these 27 extra bottles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the back. And I'm going to make up a sticker that just says 333. Let's try and use up some of these stickers. That pen is no good. Take 2. 333. And then when I get empty on the actual bottle of 333, then I can just swap lids. But since I moved in with my boyfriend, that's when I started the birth control. And 6 months went by, I ended up having to drop out of school because I was too sick to go because the migraines went nuts. And then when I ran out of my birth control pills and was too sick to be actually doing anything that would require birth control pills, and was too broke to get another 6 month prescription, and didn't really want to go back to my doctor because I went back to her, I think, 4 separate times after the migraines started going crazy, and said, my migraines have gone nuts and I don't understand why. And every time she went, oh, well, we'll check on a few things, and she'd order blood work, and then I wouldn't hear anything from her, which is international doctor for nothing interesting happened due to your blood work, so don't worry about it. So nothing would come of it. She'd prescribe me more migraine meds. And a few weeks later, I'd make another appointment, go back to her and say, yeah, my migraines are still in control, and she'd hem and haw and decide to run the blood work again. And I was pretty sure it was the same blood work she ordered last time, but I was like, okay, well, she's a doctor. She knows what she's doing. I'm an 18-year-old kid. I don't. So I let it happen. And the third time, I was starting to get irritated. But again, 18-year-old kid versus doctor, what do I know? Finally, on the 4th, as she was ordering it the 4th time, I said, okay, wait a second. I've come here now 4 times telling you that things are bad. This is 208. And my migraines are out of control. You've ordered this, I think you've ordered this same blood work already 3 times. Has it shown anything before? And she says, well, no. It's like, is there something else we can check on? And she's like, well, I don't really think there's anything wrong. We can send you over to a psychologist. And I went really, really quiet. Because I was fuming with rage. Because this was, well, it was a migraine, so it was in my head, but I wasn't imagining this. This was not a function of anything else. This was me really sick, and I'm being told, yeah, you're fine. So I took the prescription for my migraine meds and never went back to see her again. Which the migraine meds only had a certain amount of usage anyway, because if I didn't take them within the first 45 minutes to an hour of getting the migraine, I wouldn't be able to get them down fast enough for them to actually be able to do anything. I would just start throwing up. And then eventually I just ran out of the prescription for my birth control and didn't want to make another appointment with that doctor because she'd lost my trust. And then after a few weeks, I realized it had been several weeks since I'd had one of these crippling migraines. And that's when 2 and 2 got put together. And we're like, it was the birth control. Here I was thinking I was doing something very, very smart. If I'm going to be having a physical relationship with a man who's 6 years older than me, I should probably take some precautions to make sure that I don't end up a teen mom out of this. And it turned out that it caused me to lose a year of school. I'd lost credits the year before then because I was a silly person who decided to play with D&D rather than go to bed at a reasonable time and be able to get up for school in the morning. But I lost a lot of courses the second year because I was too sick to go to school. So that's one of 208. We'll do another one of 208. Looks like we could do a lot of 939. Most of this painting's going to be 939. So yeah, after that, and I've learned since that it could have been a non-active ingredient that I was allergic to or whatever have you, or there were probably other birth control pills that I could have tried, but the 1-2 punch of having such a violent reaction to birth control and not trusting the doctor that gave it to me anymore meant that I never tried another birth control pill. We just did physical contraception, which worked fine until our 10th anniversary when we conceived Emily. 10 years of good condom use, I mean, really. So. It also made problems for when I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and anyone who's ever had endometriosis will tell you the first thing they're going to tell you is there are no drugs specifically for endometriosis, but hormone medications up to and including birth control can help. Why we have 1,500 boner pills but not enough medications for something as debilitating as endometriosis is a question for gender studies, not crafting channels, but it meant that I was basically looking down I took some mild, I think they weren't estrogen, they were progesterone. And that's not full, why am I putting it away? They were progesterone pills. Because my gynecologist felt that they would probably be less likely to cause me any problems, and if they did cause me any problems, I could just go off them. We immediately stopped them and try something else. And they didn't, but they also didn't really help with the endometriosis and my rapidly declining iron levels in my blood. So I ended up having to go in for an ablation. The moral of the story with me and birth control pills and trying to be a good, responsible kid is that sometimes you can do everything right and still lose. I thought I was doing the right thing. And for many people, it would have been the right thing. But for me, it was the wrong thing. And there's no way for me to have known that without having gone through it. Now, the indifference of my doctor definitely didn't help matters. And yes, the gynecologist who was treating me for the endometriosis and the doctor that I no longer ever went back to are two different physicians. But I have a hard time trusting doctors ever since then. And I've had some great doctors. But it really shatters your illusions of doctors know best for you when you have a doctor who fails you. And I'm kind of going through this again with mental health issues because my doctor keeps going, oh, well, you need to go talk to CMHA. CMHA keeps saying, well, you need to go talk to your doctor. It's like, which is it? I am so lost. CMHA, for those of you who may not be Canadian, is the Canadian Mental Health Association. Right now I am starting therapy through them, but I'm going to get a whack, I can't remember, it's 6 or 8 sessions with a counselor. I was like, I haven't been able to leave my house since October. I don't think that's going to be sufficient. Actually, going to get my shot was surprisingly okay. I mean, I was nervous and I could definitely feel the anxiety, but I didn't have a freak out or a meltdown or a panic attack. I did okay. I was out of the house for maybe a total of half an hour because they make you sit for 15 minutes afterwards just to make sure that you don't have an adverse reaction. In fact, this is my sticker. And what they do before they give you your sticker that says you've been vaccinated is they put the time that you need to sit and wait. And they had us all in little cubes, and there was a clock on the table in the cube. And you can leave once your time was done. So that's what that's about. I did have that on my shirt the day I had it done, but then I kept getting my hair stuck in it, so I took it off and put it on my phone. It probably won't stay there. It probably won't stay there. It is what it is. I have a picture of me wearing it. It's on my Instagram, which is linked in the description below. You're welcome to go check me out there. I post relatively frequent updates of what I'm working on. Generally when I get to a point where I'm done with a set of sections, like if I'm doing something in strips. So with this painting, if I was doing this as a strip, I would get that strip done and then I'd post it. I post fairly regular updates on what I'm working on. Okay, I think that's as far as I'm going to go with the 939. I still have that other tangle up there that I need to. It was 78 bags after all. But I can take a break partway through working on it and put the rest of these bags into containers. Because I do like kitting up and taking a break going, okay, well I need to start dealing with these 939 will give me that little break. So that's all the drills. Okay, so I'm going to move these around so they make sense to me. Those are numbers. That's a symbol. It's another A. Number this one because it has U6, 4, E, 2, D, there's a D. There's an 8 in here, I think, so I don't think there's a B. D, there's a small E, but I think there's a big E too. Maybe not. E, F, G, H, your number. I don't think there's an I because there's a 1. I think there's a 1. Yes, there's a 1. J, K, don't see M's or N's here. Q, R, S, T, U, E. Oh, there is an N. So we need to only move it down. W, X, Z. I'm going to put these two symbols up here because that's where they're going to end up because I'm going to have the numbers. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No 9 because it's easy to get 9 and 6 mixed up. They didn't have a B on here because it might get mixed up with 8. They don't have a 9 because it might get mixed up with 6. So I like the pre-planning they've done in here. But that's all the drills. I've still got a tangle of 9 through 9 that I will eventually have to deal with. We will get there. Okay. So the next thing we're going to deal with is sectioning this canvas. So I'm going to pause you and get stuff moved out of the way, and then we're going to work on getting this canvas sorted out. Okay, so this could be entertaining for you guys because this is going to be the math challenged when trying to put this into 30 squares. Okay. So I know on the short end, and I can see, because where the paper ends is not where the drilling field ends, but I can sort of see that line through here. Actually, let's do something maybe a little bit radical. I brought out this giant square because it's actually big enough. Because this little metal ruler is not long enough. It's a whole 30 centimeters or 12 inches. It's not long enough to be a consistent straight edge for this. So what I'm going to try and do, see how good. So I'm going to try and cut through the paper. This could be a disaster, but I'm doing it on the edge. And cut off the excess adhesive. I'm not trying to cut the canvas, just the paper and the adhesive. I successfully cut through paper. Did I get the adhesive? And I did go a little over the line, but that shouldn't matter too much. Yes. So some people put washi tape around the edges. I still do that because frequently, even when I've pulled up the actual tape, the tape's been on there long enough, and I've had this in my stash since last summer. So the tape's been on there long enough that some of it has sort of embedded its way into the canvas. So there may still be washi tape in my future for this project, but that's considerably less tacky than it was. Let's try that on this side. Let's push my luck, shall we? And did I cut through the canvas at any point? It feels a little scored, but I didn't cut through at any point. So maybe a little lighter touch on this side. Didn't quite get through there. Again, I'm a little over, especially at the top there. See if I went the tape. No. Okay, it's no big deal. We'll take the knife and we'll carefully go through it again. Now this is like tissue tape, as Rebecca calls it. It is really thin. You do not need much pressure. To get it to score through. And if you do go all the way through your canvas, then you have to see about fixing that. Mind you, I tend to cut the edges off my canvases anyway, so probably won't be that big of a deal, but still. Not much there. There's a little bit down here. Not enough. There we go. Well, a little bit of it. Come on. No. Come on. There we go. Okay, so that's all of the tissue tape on that side. There's hardly any overhang on the top edge, but I think I might do some on the bottom. Actually, it would probably be prudent to wait until I have better light. But I'm impatient. That time I didn't go over the line the other way, but I think I kind of went over it. Did not stay the course. Cutting this in the middle. Right. Oh, there's a chunk here that didn't come up. The reason that we do this is really to keep from fluffies and Cheetos dust and animal hair and human hair. I swear there's probably at least 4 or 5 hairs in every one of my diamond paintings because that's just life. All in. There. You have to get a knife under it. Sometimes that's with that you can grab it with your fingernails. Hey, there we go. A little better. And come on. Alright, I'm already bored of that. Okay, so I am bright enough to realize that I need to move 3 to 20 centimeters from this edge. Actually, we'll start from this edge because we're here. Let's use this one. That's a wet erase marker. That's probably going to smear the second I put it down. Not that this is doing any better, but there we go. Alright, so that's 20 centimeters on that side. Come over here. I'm going to mark it 20 centimeters on that side. So you guys are just 40 centimeters. So now I take the big honkin' ruler, which, no, it's inches on that side too. I'm pretty sure I inherited this from my father. See, a lot of the products that we get in Canada were made in the States for U.S. customers and then just brought over for Canada. So while we use centimeters, our closest trading partner uses inches. Okay. So in this case, I'm not trying to score through trying to score the adhesive at all. I'm just trying to get it so that it scores the paper. Okay. All right. So let's pull this off and we're going to mark make sure that's where it needs to be. Mark 10 centimeters. Come on. Give me some ink. Doesn't have to be a lot. I just need some. And then we're just going to repeat that process. Since we have to divide this in 30, I now have to divide it 6 by 4. 40 centimeters by 4 is not difficult. Just make cuts every 10 centimeters and you will have 40. A few burrs in the side of this apparently. So it's not perfectly straight. You know what? If that means that the sections are uneven, it is not the end of the world. Yeah, this one's a little under the mark. The mark is there and the line is here. Okay. We'll go with it. Not the end of the world. Okay. So I'm going to bend this slightly to see if it's cut all the way through. Which it kind of has. Places. I'm just going to tidy that up with the knife. Okay. And then we're going to take the ruler, line up first. Start sending the mark here. Take the marker, mark 10 centimeters, then do it over here, take the marker, mark 10 centimeters, okay. Oh well, I'm trying to do 50 divided by 6 in my head. And it's not coming out a nice even number. Now, the other Rebecca's doing 30 by 40. But she works a full-time job. And like I said, I wanted this to be my I wanted this to be my countdown to Canada Day, and this was the most logical. Excuse my hair. I know I'm in need of a shower. I will be doing that after this. Look at all of these. It's all 939. Okay. So I'm going to actually be really embarrassing and pull out a calculator, or more literally my phone, and figure out how that divides out. Because much as I do mental math a lot, 8.333. So if you do 8, so I need to make 5 cuts. So do halfway, it's 25. Five cuts to make 6 pieces across. Right? I'm sure people who are better at mental math than me are going, what are you doing? So, line that up more or less. Like I said, if some pieces do end up slightly bigger than others, I'm not going to cry about it. The idea of this is to do a section a day. So, here's mark 1, here's mark 2, more or less lined up. We're using this as a straight edge, may not have been my best idea. Here. Okay. So, alright, then I need to make 2 more cuts. Is that roughly 8 centimeters? It sure looks like it. Let's make sure that down there. Yep, close enough. So now I'm effectively dividing each half into thirds. Make sure it's roughly 8. A little far down. Okay, close enough. The big old knife. Okay. And then we flip. And do the same thing again. enough? We're getting close. 7, 8. Oh crap. Yeah, double check. 8. 8. Yeah, we'll call that close enough. Okay, so I've successfully divided this into 30 sections. At least, I think I have. It's getting late. I've had a medication. Fairly likely I've screwed up somewhere fundamentally. I have. Oh well. I will deal with what I have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 times 4 is 30. I hope. Okay. So the other Rebecca, what she's done is she's just labeled these in number order, and then she's going to use a randomizer to pick which one she does each day, and she's going to do one each day. And she is going to be posting which number her randomizer comes up with. So I think I'm just going to join her. Now you are welcome to randomize these like you would on an actual advent calendar. You are welcome to put them in a number order and do them in that number order. This is not meant to be a difficult exercise. Do what's fun for you. And I'm using these stickers because these stickers are super duper sticky, so they will actually stick to this paper. Getting stickers to stick to cover paper is kind of hard. These ones are really, really sticky. So I don't want to use them on my containers anymore because getting them off is something of a nightmare. But in order to get something to stick to these, you need something super sticky to get over the fact that this is essentially supposed to be a non-stick surface. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And that's the end of that section of them. I know I have more. There's more right there. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, I done have a boo-boo. I sectioned it in 24. Which would have been fine for the advent calendar at Christmas time. But I need another 6. Oh man, whoops. Okay. I think I know what I'm going to do. I was like, I'm running out of spots to put stickers and still more stickers to put on. I need to do something a little unorthodox, which will mean that some of these sections are going to be way bigger. So, yeah. Wow. I have done messed this up. Okay. So sections 19 through 30 are going to be real small. I clearly did not think this out as well as I thought I did. And I'm sure there's people in the comments who've been yelling at me all this time going, what are you talking about? Your math sucks. It's like, yes, my math sucks. I write, I craft, I don't math. And that's not a sexist girls don't do math, math is hard. That's a me thing. Six times 4 is 24, 6 times 5 is 30. I'm a dumbass. Okay. Two, 4, 5, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Yikes on trikes. Okay. Let's get this mess up in there, right? So, 19 is now going to be this little section here. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Yay! Wow, I'm a dumbass. Okay, so I have finished getting this kitted up. Slice this off here and stick those stickers away. Okay, so that's all I need to do. So I'm now ready to start June 1st with whatever number that gets put up. If she picks one of these later ones, it's going to be a real fast section because that's pretty tiny. And you're supposed to stick onto these. Don't make a liar of me. Okay. But that is my Canada Advent calendar, effectively, is how that's going to work. So thank you so much for joining me. Like this video if you enjoyed it, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already for all of my awesome math fails, because I'm sure there will be more. It's just the kind of person I am. I try to make sure you guys are entertained. And I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky, guys. Bye.